The night began with the kind of heaviness that presses on your chest before anything actually happens, the kind that warns you something ordinary is about to become unforgettable. Rain glazed the streets like fresh tears, neon lights trembling in the puddles, and I remember thinking that if I had left work just 5 minutes earlier, my life might have stayed exactly the same. Instead, I found myself standing in a dim parking lot, holding the keys of a man who could barely stand, unaware that one small act of responsibility would pull me into a story of pain, regret, and redemption that would change me forever. Before the story truly begins, let me ask you something from the heart. If you believe in kindness, in second chances, and in the quiet power of doing the right thing even when no one is watching, please take a moment to like this video, share it with someone who needs hope, leave a comment, and subscribe to the Kindness Chronicles. Your support helps stories like this reach the people who need them most. I had worked with him for almost 3 years. Not a close friend, not an enemy either, just one of those familiar faces you nod to every morning while holding a cup of cheap coffee. He was known for being reliable, quiet, and a little worn down by life. Lately, though, something about him felt off. His eyes carried a tired hollowness, his smiles came late and left early, and he lingered at his desk long after everyone else had gone home. That night, there was a small office gathering, nothing fancy, just leftover snacks and bottles opened to celebrate a finished project. He drank too much, far too quickly, like someone trying to drown thoughts rather than enjoy a moment. When I realized he was in no condition to drive, the responsible choice felt obvious, even though I was exhausted and eager to get home. I took his keys, helped him into my car, and drove through the rain-soaked streets in silence. The city felt unusually quiet, as if holding its breath. He mumbled fragments of apologies and half-formed sentences, and I sensed there was more weight in his chest than alcohol alone. I didn't pry. Sometimes kindness is simply allowing someone to arrive safely at their doorstep. His house was modest, lights glowing softly behind lace curtains. I walked him to the door, steadying his unbalanced steps, and knocked. When the door opened, I wasn't prepared for what I saw. His wife stood there, smaller than I imagined, with eyes that looked like they had cried many nights in a row. She didn't look surprised to see him like that. She looked tired in a deeper way, the kind of tiredness that sleep can't fix. I explained quickly, awkwardly, and helped him inside. She thanked me politely, quietly, and I left, thinking that was the end of it. It wasn't. Over the next few weeks, things at work shifted in subtle ways. My coworker seemed different. He arrived earlier, focused more, spoke less about meaningless things and more about responsibilities. There was a seriousness to him that hadn't been there before, as if he had crossed some invisible line. I didn't connect it to that night until one afternoon when I found a handwritten note on my desk. It was brief, expressing gratitude, apologizing for the inconvenience, and wishing me well. It was signed by his wife. That note stayed with me longer than I expected. Something about the handwriting felt heavy with emotion, like every word had been chosen carefully through pain. I wondered what kind of life they lived behind those curtains, what storms they faced when the lights went out. Weeks passed, and the memory of that rainy night faded into the background of daily routines, or so I thought. Then came the call. It was late evening when my phone rang from an unfamiliar number. I almost ignored it. When I answered, her voice was calm but trembling, asking if I could come by for a moment, saying she wanted to thank me properly. My first instinct was hesitation. Life teaches us to be cautious, to avoid involvement in other people's problems. But something in her tone felt sincere, urgent in a gentle way. I agreed. Their home felt different this time. Brighter, but heavier. She invited me in, offered tea, and sat across from me with hands folded tightly. She spoke slowly, carefully, explaining how that night had been a breaking point. Her husband had been struggling silently with the fear of losing his job, the pressure of providing, and a growing sense of failure he couldn't admit out loud. Alcohol had become his escape, his quiet rebellion against feeling powerless. That night, she had been preparing herself for a phone call from the police or a hospital. Instead, I brought him home alive. She told me that seeing a stranger show more responsibility for her husband's safety than he had shown for himself shattered something inside him. It forced him to confront the path he was on. He had started counseling, cut back on drinking, and opened up in ways he never had before. Their marriage, fragile and cracked, was slowly finding light through the fractures. Then she did something I never expected. Still had scars. I still faced my own battles, doubts, and weariness. But something fundamental shifted in the way I saw people. I began to notice the silent fights others carried, the invisible weights behind tired eyes. Kindness stopped feeling optional and started feeling essential, like oxygen we owe one another. Months later, his wife sent me another message. This time, it was a simple update. He had received a promotion. They were planning a small family trip. They were learning, slowly, how to breathe again. She ended the message by saying that some people save lives without ever knowing it, simply by choosing to care. That sentence stayed with me longer than anything else. If this story has reached into your heart, if it reminded you that even the smallest act can ripple through lives in ways we may never fully see, please take a moment now to like this video, share it, and subscribe to the Kindness Chronicles. Your engagement keeps these stories alive and spreading. And before this video ends, I have a special request. Please comment below with one act of kindness you remember receiving or giving that changed something for you, even in a small way. Your story might be the light someone else needs today. Because sometimes, the most unforgettable thanks isn't spoken loudly or rewarded publicly. Sometimes, it lives quietly in the knowledge that for one rain-soaked night, you chose to do the right thing, and someone else got to live another day because of it.